After developing 3 first-round picks in last year's NFL draft, it's safe to say that Georgia defensive line coach Trey Scott is one of the best assistant coaches in college football. And I think he has a real chance to sign the #1 defensive line class in the country in 2023. Of course, in order to do that, he's going to have to sign some 5-stars and, his big key targets, and I think he has a real chance to do that. Of course, that's what I'm gonna be breaking down in this video, where Georgia stands with their top defensive line targets, when they could be making a decision, and what it's going to take for Georgia to sign the #1 defensive line class in 2023. And I want to start on the interior defensive line. The first guy I want to talk about is Jamal Jarrett. If you've been watching these videos, if you've been on Dog Post, you know what I feel Georgia's chances are with him. A massive 6'5", 330-pound nose guard. They want him to be Jordan Davis of the future. He's got a top 3, Georgia, North Carolina, and Auburn. I'm going to keep it simple with you. Dude's not going to Auburn. It is a dumpster fire over there. It's really down to Georgia and North Carolina. And I've liked Georgia's chances for a while now, ever since I spoke with him in February in person. He's got a commitment set for July 19th. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he decided to do it a lot sooner and jump on board and commit to Georgia. So I think Georgia has a comfortable lead with Jamal Jarrett, one of the top defensive tackle prospects in the country. Moving right along, James Smith, 5-star from Montgomery, Alabama. This is going to be a Georgia-Alabama battle. Just a bully, 6'5", 310, just tosses kids aside. There's a reason he's, I think, a top 10 consensus prospect in the country. I think the #2 defensive tackle prospect in the country, depending on what site you look at. But this is a guy that Kirby Smart has had high on his list for a long time. I think he FaceTimed James Smith and his teammate, edge defender Quay Russo, who I'm going to talk about in a minute, during the NFL draft, saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're developing guys. We're putting them in the first round. Come be a part of this. I still think Alabama is probably the team to beat. And I think if he had to make a decision today, it would probably be the Crimson Tide. But Georgia's right in the thick of it. They had him on campus for an official visit last weekend. I was told everything went well. Georgia has a real shot here, but they're going to have to overtake the in-state Alabama Crimson Tide, and it's not going to be easy. Jordan Hall, a massive defensive lineman, again, with plenty of size, 6'5", 300 pounds, maybe a guy that Georgia fans don't know a ton about right now. I think he's ranked as a low 4-star, but this is a big kid who can move, and I think he is higher on Georgia's board than maybe some think. I think Florida State had the advantage early on, but if Georgia pushes for this kid, I think they have a real shot to get him, one of the more underrated guys on Georgia's board, a guy that I think Georgia fans don't know a ton about right now. But Jordan Hall is a big, interior guy who can move. He might not be their first option, but I think he's a take if you want to jump on board. Sadir Mitchell out of New Jersey, one of the top prospects in that area, massive 6'5", 330 pounds, big old dude in the middle who's going to eat up blocks, create room for linebackers to make a play, just going to eat up space in the trenches, in the middle, a guy that they're looking hard after. If they can get this guy, who I think is a high 3-star, low 4-star for many, if they get him along with Jamal Jarrett, you're going to have 2 dudes in the middle who are just going to eat up space, take on double teams, and clog those running lanes. Sadir Mitchell took his official visit to Georgia in late May, and I think they're probably the team to beat right now. He's taken official visits to Texas A&M, and I believe Miami since. So I'm not sure where Georgia stands coming after, those 3 official visits. I'm not sure how hard those teams are pushing for him. But I think he is a take at Georgia. You just don't find guys that big who can move like that and that quick off the ball. So he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. So those are 4 interior guys. Caden McDonald, local kid at North Gwinnett, one of my favorite players in Georgia. I think he's a top 10 player in Georgia. I think he is a plan B or C option for the Dogs, but if he comes on board, I think Georgia fans should be happy. Had like 60 tackles for loss last year in 7A football in Gwinnett County, 7 sacks against South Forsyth, my high school, in the playoffs last year. Dude just lived in the backfield, terrorized offensive linemen all season long. He may not have the height. I think he's about 6'2", about 300 pounds, but dude can absolutely move for his size. Insanely quick off the ball, gets after the passer, runs down the running back like he's 250. Again, I think Georgia has a few other guys ahead of him at defensive tackle, but if they were to push for him and land his commitment down the line, I think Georgia fans should be really happy. One of my favorite players in Georgia. Now on the edge, they do have one commitment already. Gabriel Harris, 6'4", 240, passer rusher, super athletic, can really get after the passer out of Valdosta. They got him on board, and he is happy to be a Dog. Solid 4-star that I think Georgia fans should be happy to have on board. But they're looking good for some 5-stars too. Quay Rusall out of Carver High School in Montgomery, teammate of James Smith. I think those two guys are going to the same college. It's going to either be Georgia or Alabama for, I think, both of them. They've taken visits to Miami, but at the end of the day, Georgia and Alabama, I think, are the two teams out in front. 130 tackles last year off the edge. A little smaller compared to the other guys, about 6'2", about 230, but built like a truck, runs like a deer, insanely quick off the edge. Again, gets after the quarterback with ease. Had like 16 sacks last year. He's a top Georgia target, I'm telling you, off the edge, and I think they have a real shot at him. Again, they're just going to have to beat out Alabama. It's not going to be easy, but if they can get those two on board and take two of the best players in Alabama, that says a lot about, Kirby and Trey Scott and their ability to get basically whoever they want. If they get those two guys out of Alabama, that would be huge. Jaden Wayne out of Washington State in the Seattle area, 6'5", about 245. He took his official visit to Georgia in late May, and he told me personally, Georgia is the #1 team on my list. They are my leader. Now, he's taken a few other official visits. I think he's got some, if he hasn't already taken, to Alabama, Oregon, Miami. I think this could be a Georgia-Miami battle. Alabama, I thought was the team out front for a while. I think Dan Lanning is pushing hard for him. Wouldn't surprise me if he ended up at Oregon, closer to home. So while I do think Georgia had the lead for him, maybe they still might. I know they really blew it out of the park for him and his family when they were in town for an official visit. He's been in Athens a few times. He was there last fall for a game. He was there for G-Day. I think another visit, and then his official visit last month. So Georgia's absolutely in the running for him, 5-star edge defender. So a guy that Georgia fans need to know about. Sam Mpemba, an extremely athletic edge defender out of IMG Academy, played some receiver for them last year, but I think he'll end up on defense wherever he decides to go to school. I think this could be a Georgia-Miami battle. I think he's going to take an official visit to Georgia in the fall, so there's still plenty of time for them to climb his list of schools. But he's on campus today. If you're watching this on June 22nd, he's in Athens right now for an unofficial visit. We'll see how that goes. If it's successful, I think Georgia could absolutely turn out to be one of the teams to beat in his recruitment. But they're going after 5 stars. After what they did in the NFL draft, how they played last year, they're only recruiting the best of the best. They have an exact plan of what they want for each player and that position. They're getting big, heavy guys who can move and eat up blocks in the middle, and then explosive pass rushing guys who can also set the edge, on the edge, outside linebacker, that, defensive end type in their scheme. So you got to be able to get after the passer. You have to set the edge, and all these guys have the size and the athleticism to do that. Again, if you go down their targets, they've got 4-star Gabe Harris on the commit list, but after that it's 5-star, 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 and they're going to end up with a couple of these guys I'm talking about. Deshaun Womack, another 6'4", 255-pounder out of Maryland. Georgia's in his top 5. I think LSU, Ole Miss, Oregon, and Maryland. So, even if they get their plan B and plan C guys, which I don't think is going to happen, I think they're going to get some of these top 5-star guys that they're after. But even if they have to possibly settle for 1 or 2 guys, these are players that other programs would love to have easily and get on board. So it's easy to see, how well Georgia's doing on the recruiting trail. They never have problems getting guys, right? But with Trey Scott on board, he's got a resume of saying, hey, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to coach you, develop you, and more likely than not, you're going to get drafted, and there's a high chance that you'll go in the first round. So yeah, he's got the resume. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the most respected recruiters and developers in the country. There's a reason that Kirby hired him a couple of years ago. The guy knows what he's doing, and he's winning over a lot of these parents and their families. So he's done an excellent job since coming to Athens. And again, if they get even a few of these guys, these 9 guys I just talked about on the interior and on the edge, I definitely think Georgia has a chance to have the #1 defensive line class in the country. Now, it's loaded. Some of these big-time players are going to go to Alabama. I think Texas A&M is going to haul in a nice class as well. So overall, from a national perspective, there are so many talented defensive linemen across the country. Georgia's going to get theirs. And a lot of them are not committed yet, but I think over the summer, there's a few of these guys who could pop and commit to Georgia. So be on your heels, be on Dog Post, make sure you're up to date. A lot of these guys have taken their official visit already. A couple of these guys will take official visits to Georgia, I believe, in the fall, but if they get guys like Jamal Jarrett and one of James Smith or Sidier Mitchell, you're going to have two outstanding interior guys. And then, again, if they can land Quay Russo and James Smith, boom, I think they're easily going to have the #1 defensive line class. If you throw in a Gabe Harris, who's, again, already on board, Jamal Jarrett, maybe Sam Mpemba or Jaden Wayne, and there might be other guys who emerge late that they find later in the process and say, okay, this is a guy we want. We can do a lot with him. Let's try to get him at the last minute. So I think they're going to bring in probably 5, maybe 6 guys total if you add these edge guys, outside linebackers, along with the interior. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia's going to bring in an excellent defensive line class and push for the #1 defensive line class in the country. Guys, thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I will see you over on Dog Post.